The way business is conducted is always changing, and so is the need for managers and leaders to keep changing and be adaptable. Virtual and remote business tools are impacting the way that we look at the business, how we work with customers, and how teams are led. The first few lessons of Module 4 is all about working with remote teams and the tools that you can use to better manage those teams. Welcome to your first lesson of this module. You are almost done with your professional diploma. Technology now allows people to connect anytime, anywhere, to anyone in the world, from almost any device. This is so dramatically changing the way people work, facilitating 24/7 collaboration with colleagues who are dispersed across time zones, countries, and continents. So as you can think, this process comes with a lot of benefits, but also a lot of drawbacks. One, we can have teams virtually anywhere in the world, but with that, there's no time limit. People take work home with them, and this creates a lack of balance. So we're going to look at what a virtual team is, how to manage it within the next couple of lessons. Today, we're going to talk about going virtual. The topics we're going to cover includes virtual meetings and virtual meetings in practice. With that, let's have a look at our first section. In recent surveys, more than half of respondents said another 28% worked partially remotely, partially on-site. Marketing and PR, design, engineering, sales, and customer support jobs are among the most popular choices for remote workers. Innovative apps and videos, chat services like Trello and Slack are contributing to these trends. Nowadays, teams worldwide can share files, hold online meetings, and collaborate on the go. Today's workforce is no longer tied to an office location, and they can work remotely from anywhere in the world. This means that new technologies and the way that we approach work needs to be changed. We need to be flexible, take our work culture into account, and how can we improve communication, innovation, and still be creative, even though we don't share the same office space. Setting up virtual meetings is much easier and less time-consuming than traveling miles to get to an office space. Your employees can share data, projects, click on links, get everything done from home. But we have to think of the pros and the cons that comes with virtual meetings and virtual teams. So let's have a look at virtual events. A virtual meeting can be as basic or complex as you need it to be. Let's say you're planning to launch a new product or service. Brainstorm virtual event ideas as part of your marketing strategy. You can use online meeting tools to host a webinar or a live Q&A session to answer customers' questions and share insight. So as you can see, these tools helps with your employees, with your customers. This expands the amount of people that you can access, the people that you can employ, and the tools that you can use. So there are a ton of benefits that comes with this if you can find the balance and keep that for your team. Companies can also make use of Skype and other online meeting tools to conduct job interviews and find top talent. People are considering attending virtual job fairs, connect with other qualified professionals, and even launch their own companies. So companies need to think of ways that they can virtually still compete. This means getting the right employees, getting access to the right customers, and what features do you offer as a company that fulfills the virtual needs. So let's look at the types of virtual meetings. A teleconference is a call with various participants dialing into a common conference call bridge using an assigned passcode to enter the call. It is an audio-only meeting between geographical separated individuals. These conference calls are ideal for small groups and large groups based on their location. The great thing here is you can record it and always go back to the conversation. It's great for people who are on the move, who can't really sit down, so having that audio meeting is a great way for everyone to participate. The issue here is it doesn't allow you to read body language, look at eye contact, so it's hard to read the room and you don't know how things are going. Next, according to large conference call. Video conferencing makes use of both audio and visual means, such as using a webcam. This allows people to have a meeting regardless of their location, and it is a great way for people to see each other. So the pros here is that you can host it virtually anywhere, people can see each other's faces, body language, and it's a great way to interact. The issue here is, if everyone does not have a great internet connection, it dampens the quality quite a lot. If the quality is not great, people lose connection, people can't see each other, and then it gets quite frustrating. Next, This is an online service by which you can hold live meetings, presentations, and conferences through the internet. Users can have a web conference via desktop, smartphones, or their tablets. It allows individuals to collaborate online, share documents, or their screens. One of the advantages is desktop and application sharing. Web conferencing makes it so much easier to use slides, videos, and other visual materials that will make your meeting so much more effective and impactful. It provides an opportunity for people to work together regardless of their location. The great thing here is this type of conferencing allows for people to participate, share files, videos, and it increases engagement. This collaboration allows for better job satisfaction and efficiency. The cons is there is still a technical issue. So if you don't have great internet speed, people won't be able to see your screen, see the documents, or even participate. So there you have 3 types of virtual meetings. Let's have a look at the benefits of these meeting types. No travel costs for attending a virtual meeting is a great way for people to save on costs and ensure that they are able to attend the meetings. There's also no travel time, which is so great for people to be more effective with their time management and not feel so exhausted going from one meeting to another. It's also inexpensive. You don't have to pay for your parking, nor do you have to pay for your gas. Virtual meetings can be held anywhere where there is an internet connection. This is great for bringing people together and allowing for people to collaborate even though they are not in the same office or even in the same country. Because people are able to collaborate, it brings them closer as a group. Because people can work on same documents, share ideas, and get that face time regardless of where they are at that moment. Because the meetings are virtual, people don't have that travel time, cost time, so it cuts down on the amount of time we spend between meetings. So productivity is not impacted as much as when you have to go to a physical meeting. But there are also pitfalls to think of when we talk about virtual meetings. And we're going to talk about just that in the next slide. Negotiating multiple time differences can be difficult to accommodate all participants. And it's also difficult to accommodate all personality types because not everyone likes virtual meetings. So having a platform that works for everyone is so difficult. Technical issues like the computer not working, the webcam giving you issues, the internet not working, these are all realistic things that happen with virtual meetings. Technical difficulties can keep people from participating to their full capacity. Here we see capability and speed issues for participants who aren't in the office setting. So it can take longer for them to get the information and share the information that they have. Body language cues can be hard to read and decipher when we are not face-to-face with each other. This can lead to miscommunication, misunderstandings, and people not feeling part of the group. So you have to think of how you can overcome this and teach people to understand cues even though we are in a virtual space. Lastly, I think we can all relate to this one. It is sometimes really hard to stay focused on virtual meetings because you're in your own space and you may be shared with someone, or you have kids or animals, or it's really noisy outside. That can all lead to distractions which the others might not have. So you might be distracted, but someone else is not, and it can lead to a frustrating meeting because they don't relate and they don't know really what you're going through. So these are just a few of the pitfalls to think about when you are conducting virtual meetings. But when we have virtual meetings, we have to discuss etiquette. And if you think of some of the Zoom meetings and Skype meetings that have gone viral of people eating while they're meeting or not having clothes on even, or running around and kids coming in, all of these things comes down to etiquette. So when you're setting up virtual meetings, we need to discuss what can be done, what should not be done, and then how to set up that protocol with your employees. The most important thing is you need to discuss it. You can't expect everyone to follow the etiquette that you presume as important if that is not something that they value. So having clear rules, a code of conduct of what you think should and should not happen is a great way to set boundaries and to ensure that everyone has the same information. So let's look at a few examples of what the etiquette should look like in a virtual meeting. According to GoToMeeting, maybe you're taking diligent notes, but the typing can be extremely distracting. It means that everyone is not concentrating because the noise of your typing is preventing them from concentrating. So the best thing is to mute yourself while you are typing, or get a notepad with a pen and paper that will not make the same noise. One of the magical things about working remotely is the freedom to wear anything. But keep in mind, you don't want to show up to a meeting in your pajamas or the fact that you haven't showered for days. No, think of what you would have looked like if you were in the office. Throw on a clean shirt, brush your hair, make sure that you look presentable because you are still in an office space and you are still collaborating and speaking with your employees. Keep in mind, if you guys have a pajama day and no one cares, then that is fine. That is part of your team culture. But studies have shown when people dress the part, they feel better. When people keep themselves within a routine that they normally would, they work more effectively. A lot of people struggle with the transition of working in an office and then having to work from home. Your coworkers won't be able to hear your ideas or take you seriously when there's a pile of dirty clothes or dishes or the room just looks really unneat. Before the meeting, just have a quick look at your video to see what everyone else can see. This way you can make adjustments and that you're not in the meeting and you can see a lot of dishes or dirty clothes laying around and you have no way of cleaning it up. There's nothing more frustrating than hearing a weird echo or people typing or people tapping and you cannot concentrate. So the ideal thing is if you are not speaking, put yourself on mute. This allows for little background noise. This also allows for the person who is speaking to get the floor. And while you are unmuting yourself, you have a time to think before responding. So this is just etiquette to help your team communicate better, to give everyone a space to speak, and for everyone to be comfortable. When you enter a small meeting, around 2 or 5 people, announce yourself when you join. It can be awkward when someone just joins and they're quite silent. So when you hop onto a meeting, just say hi. You can just say a quick hi, even though someone is mid-sentence. I know it can be tough and you don't want to disrupt anyone, but you can just give a little wave to ensure that you make your presence known while you're in the meeting. Avoid eating. I know it is tough because meetings can be so long. The idea is for people to try to snack before the meeting or eat afterwards, so no one has to look at someone else eating, someone else chewing, as that can be distracting and some people might find it unpleasant. Then again, if you maybe have a meeting where you guys are eating together, where you're drinking something, that is another type of meeting. Next, I want to look at this term that a lot of you might have heard about. It's called Zoom fatigue. So this is not just related to Zoom. This can be any virtual meeting platform where people feel exhausted, like they cannot be in a virtual meeting anymore. So let's look at what this term means and why it's happening. According to the National Geographic, Jody finished teaching a class over Zoom, and she immediately fell asleep in her guest bedroom, doubling as her office. The professor at University of Pennsylvania says while teaching, she felt exhausted. She felt like she could not teach anymore. The emotions were high as she was covering a lot of tough topics. Now, like countless people around the world, working from home and in a virtual space has taken its toll. In addition to teaching remotely, she's attending a weekly department happy hour meeting and spending time with her friends over Skype and Zoom. As a result, the experience is taking a toll. So many other people are reporting similar experiences, and that's earned its own slang term, Zoom fatigue. Though this exhaustion also applies to when you're using Google Hangouts, Skype, FaceTime, and other video calling interfaces. The idea is that the switch from meeting in person, having that interaction, to then moving to online platforms has caused a fatigue, and everyone is experiencing the same thing. This means we have to explore why virtual meetings are so exhausting, why it takes a toll on our employees and on ourselves, and how we can improve the entire situation. When employees experience or explain to you this exhaustion, I want you to relate it back to Zoom fatigue. You can explore the term with them, explain why it is happening, so that you guys can share in the same understanding. This will help you and your employees overcome this issue and also deal with it as a team. If you feel exhausted, you are not alone. This is why it's so important to understand industry terms and things that we're all going through. Before I move on to the next topic of this lesson, I just want to give you guys a quick brain break and a little sneak peek before moving on. In Lesson 2, we are continuing with virtual tools and approaches. Lesson 1 is the starting point, and Lesson 2 will expand on these terms and approaches. So with that, you have a better idea of what is coming up, and that gives you a bit of insight into what research you can look into before coming to the next lesson. Then we're going to look at virtual meetings in practice. So why are virtual meetings so different than that of an in-person meeting? Well, we have the following aspects. According to ideas, our brains can only do so many things consciously at once because we have our limits in working memory. In contrast, we can process so much more information unconsciously as we do with our body language. Meeting online increases our cognitive load because several of its features takes up a lot of conscious capacity when we're dealing with the meetings. Our feelings and attitudes are largely conveyed by non-verbal signs, such as facial expressions, your tone of voice, your pitch, your gestures, your posture, the way you speak. So all of this means that face-to-face meetings, we process these cues largely automatically, and we listen to the speaker at the same time. But when we video chat, we have to work twice as hard to process nonverbal cues. We need to pay attention to the video, listening, paying attention to cues, and this is why it's so exhausting and why a lot of personality types cannot deal with the overload of virtual meetings. When you're working remotely and you also have kids, when you have a meeting, your kids can be running around, your husband is in the background, and you can get anxiety because you're scared of what they'll do. This is why online meetings takes its toll if you don't have a dedicated office space or if your kids are constantly disrupting you. Then we also understand this is not something that you can control, but this adds to your level of stress. Let's continue on. In person, we often meet with people in different ways. We catch up. We run into them at different times of the day. Maybe when we're getting coffee, when we're going to the water cooler. But when we're working remotely, we don't have that social interaction. We only have it during the meetings. And because some people are more extroverted, they can take over their meeting, and introverts or people who are not as talkative feel excluded. And if this continues for a long period of time, they won't be comfortable in the meetings anymore. The heightened emphasis on facial cues and the ability to see oneself can act as a stressor. Viewing our own negative facial expressions like anger, disgust, can lead to intense emotions, and people can feel uncomfortable looking at themselves, or they can also avoid looking at themselves altogether. This means that they are trying to distract themselves, and this can lead to them not listening as effectively. Silence in real-life conversations is important, and it creates a natural rhythm so people can speak, they feel comfortable. But in a video call, silence can make you anxious, or if you are silent for too long, someone else sees the gap and will start speaking over you. So as a result, people can feel like they have to speak the entire time when they have a second, or they can feel like they have to complete every little thing that they want to say because they are frustrated with people speaking over them or there's a bad connection. Next up, how can you improve your virtual meetings for your team? According to Event Manager, things to think about is the goal collaboration, introduction, learning, an announcement, or something else? This will help you select the correct software and platform for your meeting. For instance, if learning is the objective, you may introduce a gamification component or a fun game when showing elements of your virtual meetings. On the other hand, if brainstorming is what you're looking for, you may focus on virtual meeting software designed to capture ideas and mind mapping tools. So all of this will help you establish what you want from a software when looking at virtual meeting options. In person, employees won't just take out their phone and start playing a game. Yet, in virtual meetings, this is a thing. Because people are in their own space and they feel more comfortable, they're taking more risks. Because employees feel disconnected, disengaged, or invisible, they do things in virtual meetings that they wouldn't do in person. But by creating a brief list of expectations will help you set the tone for your meetings. You can establish your expectations at the beginning of the meeting so no one can claim you never told them. This will also minimize the issues that you see with employees not listening, not contributing, or feeling excluded. Next up, in virtual meetings, especially when dealing with internet lag, it's important to have someone who's keeping track of people and not letting everyone talk over each other. It brings the conversation back to the actual topic and allows everyone to have a say. As a rule of thumb, virtual meetings should remain under 30 minutes in each increment. A facilitator can also suggest breaks for long meetings, where people can sit, where they can stretch, and where they can be ready for the next half of the meeting. This will help people get focused, and this is why you need a team facilitator. They can also look at when people seem distracted and call in for a break at that time. Finally, when participants meet over a virtual meeting, there's a lot of disadvantages. Things like geographical area, time zones, accents, culture. It can also be that participants are from different offices or different areas, and it's hard to bridge the gap. So the idea is to facilitate so that people can get to know each other, bridge the gaps, and that you can have icebreakers to allow people to get to know each other. Continuing on. Those who take part in building the project feel more invested in that. If you assign roles to different participants, you'll see that people are more invested in the meetings and the outcomes of the meetings. You can consider someone taking the time, someone taking notes, someone being the team leader, someone who calls in the breaks. So when you assign different tasks and different roles, people feel like they have value and that they are contributing to the different meetings. Technical issues are some of the most frustrating parts of a virtual meeting. In addition to having a technical support person to help the facilitator handle those things, it's a good idea to anticipate possible problems ahead of time. One of the most common problems is people lagging, disconnecting, slow internet, or the webcam not working. It would be a good idea to have a guide to help people with common tips and tricks that they can try out for themselves, or assign someone who is ready to help them at any point in time. A few companies has addressed this issue. They remind employees to make direct eye contact with their webcams. While this might seem like a little thing, by doing so, everyone on the virtual meeting feels like they are facing one another instead of speaking into a camera, and the distance doesn't feel so big. So something so small can make a huge difference for your employees. So that is just something to keep in mind. Lastly, teams function more effectively when team members know each other. This may be difficult for some members due to not residing in the same area, the same country, so you can make use of virtual icebreakers for people to connect with one another. Next up, top meeting tips that I would like to share with you. According to N10, establish a method for call-in participants. This might include alphabetical order by first name or last name, or if you're using a video conferencing platform, by order of the screen. This is a great way for everyone to know when to speak, and if they want to ask something, there is an order that will help them speak up. In face-to-face meetings, one way to get engagement is by doing activities like brainstorming or voting. Both activities can be done on an online platform using different tools. So this is just something to keep in mind, that you can still make use of voting and brainstorming and having these sessions in a virtual space. You can have collaboration tools that ensures that everyone has a space to type, to work, and it is a great way to bring people together. It's a great idea to allocate 5 or 10 minutes at the end of your meeting to evaluate and improve. Continuous improvement can be about the meeting, the way the team is working virtually, and things that you can improve as a group. It's a great way to create creativity, innovation, so it's not up to just one person. No, everyone can have a say, and it means that the team is adapting together and improving. When you have both remote participants and people in the room, use a bridge monitor, who ensures that there is a link between all participants. The bridge monitor reminds people in the face-to-face meeting that virtual participants are part of the meeting. So you're just assigning someone to bring the team together, allowing people to speak, asking different people to participate, and allowing that person to speak. So it's again assigning a team role. And finally, I'm sure you're not surprised, but not a lot of people read the meeting minutes. So the idea is to create meeting minutes that everyone actually wants to see, figuring out the best way to share a document and making sure that everyone reads it. So brainstorm this with your team, create a process that everyone actually values, and use that as your platform for your remote team. Next, I want to give you some fun and practical icebreakers that you can use for your virtual team. Ask participants to write down 3 statements about themselves. Make sure one of these statements is a lie, and the other 2 has to be true. Each member can vote for which statement they think is a lie by voting for the statements. Once everyone has voted, reveal the correct answer. This is just a fun way for everyone to get to know each other and learn a few facts. So how does this work? Well, you've prepared some questions within the template, such as fill in the blank, when I dance I look like, or what would I do with $1 million? You can create your own, brainstorm, and have everyone come up with their own questions. Display the questions on a board, or for a virtual team, you'll display it on a platform like Google Docs. Everyone can share their answer, and it's just a great way for everyone to get a chance to speak and also share what they would do. Carrying on. Another idea is to take a picture. You can choose one of the listed categories. For example, your room, your workspace, something on your desk, your socks or your shoes, something in your outside view, and ask everyone to add a photo to the board. It's just a fun way for everyone to collaborate, show what they're seeing, and people will comment on the different pictures. Another great icebreaker that can be used is to have your team members answer a couple of personal questions. Keep in mind that the questions should be light and fun, and also think of the company culture. So you can ask things like your favorite villain, the best way to eat pizza, the noises you love or you hate, hidden talents, favorite colors, all fun things that can allow people to see common interests, ideas, and it can bring a team closer together. Lastly, a simple round team check-in, but this time instead of a one word or something, you can use an emoji that best describes how you are feeling right now. This is just a great way for everyone to share what they're feeling. Next, we're going to look at the types of virtual meetings. Capturing ideas is important in brainstorming and strategy meetings. Sticky note tools can also be used as prompts to return to ideas mentioned that don't directly fit in with the agenda of a meeting. So capturing these concepts is really essential, and the following tools can be taken into account. This mind mapping software is focused on capturing ideas and aids in silent brainstorming. Even if you don't have an account, you can be invited to a free board, but it doesn't offer analytics. This tool is designed to help visual collaboration among teams through sticky notes. You can create boards with drag and drop pinning. The wallpapers allow you to customize a board to feel more like yours. Next up, this mind mapping and knowledge management software specializes in sharing institutional knowledge. Content is searchable in order to increase employee productivity. Categorizing and searching makes it so easy to find content that you're looking for. With all of that, it brings me to the end of this lesson. I just want to share some final housekeeping with you all. Always remember to go check out your toolkit items if you've not already done so. Students who purchase the toolkits are 5 times more likely to achieve their goals. Then, just a quick look at your progress. Well done for making it to Lesson 1 of Module 4. You are almost there to complete your professional diploma. For today's lesson challenge, go check out some fun icebreakers that you can use for your team. This is a great idea to get everyone to connect and just have a bit of fun. Finally, thank you all for completing this lesson, and I will speak to you all in Lesson 2.